Hello, this is Coach Lake, and today we'll be talking about Lesson 4, Part A, Mental Health Problems, specifically characteristics of poor mental health. All right, so what are the objectives? There are four of them that you need to know and comprehend and understand. Number one, to identify some characteristics of poor mental health. Two, to explain some self-defeating behaviors. Three, to identify substance abuse disorders, anxiety disorders, affective disorders, thought disorders, and how these disorders are treated. So that is a big one. And number four, to describe three kinds of eating disorders. So to begin, what are some characteristics of poor mental health? This is going back to our objectives, identify some characteristics of poor mental health. I'm going to list some and talk about them. But first, how do behaviors indicate mental health? First, you have to understand what a psychologist is. A psychologist is someone who studies mental and behavioral characteristics. Most, but not all, but most psychologists evaluate mental health by determining the level of normal behavior. If a person has many abnormal or strange behaviors, that person may not be mentally healthy. So the more abnormal behavior or thinking patterns an individual has, the greater the possible risk of mental illness. So if you see someone who habitually eats dirt for no apparent reason because the aliens told them, that is an abnormal behavior, i.e. not normal. And a psychologist would then evaluate that individual and be like, because of that abnormal behavior, he or she may have some mental health issues. So what are some self-defeating behaviors? First, like an introduction, a self-defeating behavior blocks a person from reaching his or her own goals. And there are three forms of self-defeating behaviors. They are anxiety, defense mechanisms, and dysfunctional relationships are the big three. So number one, anxiety. Anxiety is a feeling of uneasiness or fearful concern. Okay, we talked about this probably a long time ago, but we talked about anxiety before and fear. You feel anxious when you have a sense that something bad will happen. Okay, a caveat to this is some people use drugs to reduce anxiety. However, drugs do not get rid of the source of the anxiety, so they may give you some reprieve, but ultimately it's treating the symptom, not the cause. One form of anxiety is a phobia or an irrational fear of something. When people have a phobia, they create problems for themselves. So that goes back to mental health. When you have a phobia of something, you're creating problems for yourself, like you have fear of crossing a bridge or whatnot. So another character is defense mechanisms. People use various defense mechanisms to hide anxiety without solving their problems. A defense mechanism is a mental device that people use to protect themselves. The most common defense mechanisms are repression, denial, projection, and displacement. So there's four ways that people use defense mechanisms. We're going to talk about all four. So the first one, repression. Repression is refusing to think about something that upsets you. Refusing to think about something that upsets you. The second is denial. Denial is a conscious refusal to take a threat seriously. Projection. Projection is accusing someone of your attitudes, feelings, or purposes. For displacement. Displacement is the act of shifting an emotion from its real object to a safer or immediate one. Okay, and then the other form of anxiety or ways that you can deal with it is dysfunctional relationships. Okay, relationships are full of conflict or that do not satisfy are called dysfunctional. The most common form of dysfunction in a relationship is poor communication. Another common problem in dysfunctional relationships has to do with low self-esteem and lack of confidence. All right, so we're going to check for understanding real quick. Is on a separate sheet of paper, write true if the statement is true or false if it is not true. Okay. A, mentally healthy people never have problems or make mistakes. True or false? B, one way to evaluate mental health is to judge how well a person adjusts. C, self-defeating patterns are signs of abnormal or unhealthy behavior. D. A phobia is a sensible, irrational fear. And E, displacement means to shift an emotion from one object to another. Okay, that is a synopsis of what we covered. If you have questions or comments, feel free to email. Have a good day. Bye.